and giving the very best we got. Not just for one generation, but for all. Welcome to GatherVerse Youth Summit 2025, Day 3. We're coming off the heels of an extraordinary Day 2, where much was expressed, where we assembled leaders from around the world to gather, to share, at the intersection of emerging technologies and humanity-first consideration of standards of accessibility and education, community development, safety, privacy, wellness, ethics, care, and compassion. We're leaning in. Are you with us? We've assembled another roster for Day 3 of experts that have assembled with us from around the world. Transmetropolitan, transcontinental. Are you with us? This is our 31st Global Summit. And Day 3 doesn't end this Youth Summit. This is our largest yet. And we have more action-packed days awaiting for next week. But today, this day we're given, today is a special one. Every time that we're afforded the opportunity to be able to assemble in global community with hearts that are able to express at a time where we're talking to machines more than ever, and our machines are talking back to us, the preservation of human expression becomes that much more precious of a commodity. We want our youth to know that there are a symbol of people, assembly, that came together to arrive at the shores at the most innovative time the world has ever known, at the fastest accelerated rate of hyperscale, of artificial intelligence and XR on-chain, and more than 300 emerging technologies within the ecohabitat have arrived. That all of these technologies abide within the ecohabitat, and they're beginning to cross-pollinate and to merge into technological convergence itself. There are new innovations that we have no idea that are being assembled right now, fortified with technologies that we are familiar with in applied sciences. The world is ill prepared for the coming wave of what is to arrive and come. I expressed years ago, what will we do when the technology becomes more advanced than the technologist? That has now come to pass. If even our technologists are having a difficult time agreeing and keeping up with the cadence and the tempo of what's been deployed and perpetrated on the world, what does this mean for our very youth that will inherit what it is that we innovate today, tomorrow? What is our pledge to be able to contribute, to do our level best, to make sure that whatever baton, my goodness, whatever baton that we're handing off to them is one that's fortified in safety and trust? When we arrived into this world, there was a path given and ingrained into the forest. And we got on this path, and we stayed on this path so far, so deep within this forest that was given. And we got so deep beneath the cedar trees and evergreens, beyond the branches and the brambles, if you will, to where we went off path and we began to create path just as the ones that came before us. And may we be minded by assembly at times such as this, that the most important thing when we're building path and constructing in this great vast forest, that we simply remember to leave the lights on for the ones who are to arrive. The lights aren't external to us. The hope is that the light is within, the beacon of your heart. We're happy to see so many of you with us that have come to gather with us at GatherVerse.live once again. GatherVerse is strong. Without community, we have none of this. Without grace, we have none of this. We're thankful. We ask that you tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a stranger, tell a colleague. Share this. If you don't, no one will. Not just the broadcast, we're sharing all over the place, and so are you. But share the expressions that you've heard thus far this week and that you'll hear today. We have an incredible roundtable to assemble with us. They've arrived and they're waiting in studio. But first, we'll hear a few words from our friends at Digital Wellness Institute, one of our GatherVerse sponsors. We're grateful for any and all sponsorships that we can get. We value our partnerships with GatherVerse. May our gather be well.
Hi, my name is Nina Herscher, and I'm delighted to invite you to the Digital Wellness Day Summit on May 2nd, 2025. Annual Digital Wellness Day has reached over 17 million people in 64 countries to date, and last year the US Surgeon General even chimed into the conversation on Twitter. Each year, this global movement grows and grows, and we're delighted to have partnered with GatherVerse as our broadcast sponsor this year to help reach new and different people. Digital Wellness Day is about being healthy tech, not anti-tech. It's about using technology to fuel us instead of fatigue us, and make sure that we're leveraging it for its highest and most connective good. This summit will feature a panel on workplace wellness, on youth mental health, and on AI and productivity as it relates to digital flourishing. We really hope that you can tune in and join us or post on Digital Wellness Day about what tech-life balance means to you. You can register for the summit at digitalwellnessday.com under the Participate tab. We hope to see you there.
Hello, greetings, and welcome to Day 3 GatherVerse Youth Summit. And we're kicking off with this powerful discussion roundtable panel on From Experience to Inheritance, our pledge to future generations. Our dear panelists, I kindly ask you to mute your mics. Thank you. And I also request you to introduce yourselves. And I ask you to be very quick and brief. So I will start with you, Paola. Since you're a little bit far from me, I want to bring you close by telling us who you are. Then we'll pass it on and add it to Aziza. Paola, the mic is yours.
My name is Paula Bowens. I'm with Disruptor DAO, and we're women-led organizations that's committed to disrupting the wealth gap. Our mission is to accelerate wealth, building opportunities for our communities by strengthening the mindset, advancing the knowledge, and the knowledge and the wealth, excuse me.
Wow, you're welcome. We're happy to see you here. Lawrence, over to you.
My name is Lawrence Harris. I'm a youth empowerment speaker, and I specialize in helping teens and young adults overcome limiting beliefs and build self-love.
Amazing. That was very brief. We like it. Brian, please tell us who you are.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Brian, and I'm a transformational speaker, life coach, and also a youth pastor. In summary, my whole aspect is helping young people manifest their greatness within them. Yeah.
Well, we're happy to have a youth pastor here. We love spirituality. Juliet, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. I am the founder and the CEO of Ultimate Tech. And what we do is we specialize in IT, technology, AI, and anything about technology. Thank you so much.
We're happy to have you. Last but not least, Aziza, over to you.
Hello, everybody. Such a pleasure to be here and join you all for the GatherVerse GatherVerse Youth Summit. My name is Aziza Taylor. I'm founder of On Your Narrative 54, where we focus on building the next generation of storytellers and harnessing the power of storytelling as a catalyst for youth empowerment, leadership, and lasting social change. Happy to be here.
Wow, we welcome you. And I am Linga Tao, Communications Director for GatherVerse. We're very happy that you have decided to spend your precious time with us. Our dear audience, I kindly request you feel free to engage with these discussions. And as for you panelists, can we begin? Shall we begin? All right, that's a good signal. Well, I will begin with you, Juliet. I see the spark in you, and I want to hear your thoughts first. What are the most important life lessons we can teach today's youth that they should not miss, and why? Tell us why, and anyone can jump in on this as well. Juliet.
Well, thank you so much, Lynn. I think there is a lot for us to teach today's youth, but mostly I think empathy is missing. And I really think that since after the COVID, the dynamic of every platform, social media, real life, everything kind of changed. We used to have face-to-face conversation before, but now everybody is just click to Zoom, live stream, everything now is kind of virtual. And that, in my opinion, I think is taking away empathy from us. I think one of the most lessons that we can teach today's youth is to show empathy. Everybody is so hungry for success. But before we get there, let's show some humanity. And that's one of the things I love about what GatherVerse is doing today, is gathering people to share experiences. So let's show some empathy, let's build resilience, and let's model this character to today's youth. Why they are cleaving to social media, AI is everywhere, everybody wants to get hold of AI. Let's teach them humanity, let's teach them resilience, let's teach empathy. Absolutely.
Yes, I totally agree with that. Empathy, resilience. I see, Aziza, you're very curious to jump in on this. Do you have an opinion to share?
Absolutely. So I'm applauding and seconding everything that Juliet just mentioned. And I would also basically emphasize and really add that one of the greatest lessons that we can pass on to young people is to own their narratives. So many of our youth, especially those of African descent, are growing up in systems and realities where we don't really see us, being represented across mainstream media, across global media. And if you don't, as a young person, if I don't, as a quote unquote older person, if I don't own my narrative, write my story, capture my story, someone else will do it. And they might do it, and there might be misinformation, there might be things left out. And along that same vein, of owning your narrative, a part of your narrative is your heritage, your culture, your history. So teaching young people to embrace their culture, their history, and all of that within their narratives is so important, because once you know your history and your culture, is very empowering. And reminding young people to stand, that they are standing on the shoulders of ancestors who have overcome immense challenges, but here we are today because of them. So sharing their stories, and owning the cultural identities and various identities of resilience, from civil rights to adversities and overcoming anti-colonial movements, gives them pride and a lot of context. So I would say to own your narrative as well as embrace your culture, history, and your heritage.
Yes, absolutely. You're very right. And just to add an African proverb to that, that there's a saying that if a lion doesn't tell its stories, the hunter will take credit for the lion's hunt. So tell your own stories. And I'm coming to you, Paula, on this, as well as Brian. How can the older generation translate their experiences into tools for the next generation to build with? Paula.
Well, I just want to add on the previous question is just the one word is stay curious and balance out life, but stay curious.
Yes.
So as the older generation, I'm a generation X, And so technology kind of started with us in my generation. We went from World Wide Web, which I can remember learning like, oh my God, wow, this is amazing. Excel, Word, and Microsoft Word, and from the telephone book into the digital age. And so I would just say that with today's world and how the experiences, we need to tell the stories on how technology was introduced to us, and then how we applied it to the next generation. And in my generation, I believe we kind of built on that, and we've been going full steam ahead. So it's just a matter of passing those stories along. Of back in the day, Yellow Pages. How many people know about Yellow Pages that are now digital? And now there's on the phone. When we were coming along, we had to memorize the phone numbers. Now you don't even know your own brother or sister's phone numbers because it's all there for you. So understanding the past and then what's currently happened, and telling those stories as they go along to look at the future and build upon the future. So we're building a future here where we want you to exceed, to be better than we are than the next generation, and leave it better to the next generation.
Yes, Paula. And in the state of just being curious, I want to follow up on what you said. When it comes to passing stories, there's a generation that believes that the stories of the old don't make sense or they're not applicable in this world. What kind of stories do we tell to the future generations which are relevant and which they should take with so much humility, if you may?
Well, I would say, stories that are told to your parents, in terms of your experience. So you embrace what is given to you, especially in the technology world. So I'll take the telephone book, because I think that's, people don't know what the telephone book, or when I look at YouTube, these telephones, right? How the telephone book and how the telephone evolved. And, our ancestors before said, oh, we didn't even have telephones and we had to walk to the neighbor's house. Then our generation says we had telephone books, and now we're transitioning into the mobile. And then in the mobile, now it's going to be something else in the future where we're probably going to be using the hand. I'm a big sci-fi person. And so we utilizing some of the sci-fi TV movies, this tells us what's going to come in the future. And so that you build on those stories of what has happened in the past where there was not telephone, there was no telephone, the Pony Express. Then it was knocking on the neighbors, and now it's mobile, and now whatever the future may hold. And those are kind of stories we need to generate to the youth, to let them understand where we've come from and where we're going.
That's a very interesting perspective. And I want to drag the thread to you, Brian. What do you have to add on this?
Okay, so there's one of my favorite phrases that we need the wisdom of the older generation, we need the energy of the youth, and we need the creativity of the children to combine all those things to be able to have a holistic, wonderful life. So in regards to what the older generation can give to the youth, I think we still under the same sun, under the same moon, under the same clouds. Obviously, technology has brought about many changes, but the same pressures to pay the bills, to make it in life, the same pressures to settle down, get a car, and all these things are still the same. Obviously, in regards to technology, differently though, but the crisis that we face, the same identity crisis that the older generation had, is now only it's now only now at a larger scale because of technology. So the biggest thing that I would really appreciate the older generation to teach the youth is to be authentically yourself and to be able to open up, because now, like I think, was it Aziz, I would say that we are well connected, but everybody's on social media. People are not opening up. So the stories we can share is our success, our failures, and design these into frameworks that we can be able to make better decisions as young people and be able to reach out and learn from, because the very same crisis that 20 years ago people faced is the same thing, only now it's on a cell phone or something like that. But I think just to be open, to be able to open, converse, which is what I love about GatherVerse as well.
Yes, I totally agree with that. With opening up, we're more connected in terms of devices, but our hearts connected, and that is what I get when I just hear from you, Brian, and it makes a lot of sense. Let's just shift a little bit more and go to a higher notch. And I'm coming to you, Lawrence. Are we leaving the next generation better prepared or more dependent on technology? I'm throwing this to you,
Well,
and anyone can jump in as well.
I believe that we're leaving them a lot more dependent on technology because when you consider just going to a restaurant and you look around, there's babies on tablets rather than interacting with the parents.
Mhm.
So from there, it starts to have bigger impacts on a child's social skills and social development. When
Mhm.
COVID happened and everyone was in their house for 2 years straight and they didn't go outside and they didn't talk to anyone, a lot of people now have trouble getting groceries because they're not used to interacting.
Mhm.
So, with all of the advancements of technology, there's a lot of great things with that. But there also is the pressure of I don't need to go and make friends in the real world because I have the internet. I don't
Yes.
need to speak to the person at the grocery store because I have Uber Eats. And
Mhm.
it's important that we bring people back together face to face in a regular, natural environment because if we don't, people will just be buried in their screens, not speaking to each other. And
Mhm.
with children, this is especially important because those formative years when they're a baby and then they're transitioning into school and then high school, with how much technology has made things easy, it makes it hard for them to socialize with each other. So we
Yeah.
need to push face to face socializing.
Yes, definitely. And there was a statistic that was shared. It was very visual, and it was just sharing how the brain reacts when we interact in the virtual world and how the brain reacts in the social world. And the reaction is just different, and the brain can just tell. And I really agree with what you have said. And Richard, you're welcome. Maybe you can introduce yourself and perhaps just share your thoughts on this particular question.
Okay, hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry. Joined on my phone before, so I think that was why there was a network glitch. Okay, so my name is Richard Ogundele, and I'm the director of My Venture Capital. So basically, what we do is to provide pre-seed fundings for students who are in uni who have ideas in technology that can change the world. So we help them to turn these ideas into products where people can now get to invest more in it. So, as to the question, if we're leaving the next generation better prepared or more dependent, I really feel like we're actually doing both because uh, we are not providing enough information when it comes to ethical use of technology to these young ones. This is a generation whereby you could see a 2 years old kid already has a phone, is on the phone all day. There is no regulation. We are not informed of how too much of this, using technology can actually affect kids' cognitive thinking. So, one thing we really need to put in place now is to understand how we can use this ethically. Too much of technology can cause more harm in as much as it can also provide, make life better for us. But we need to ensure that it's being used in the ethical way, in a way
Mhm.
that is healthy enough for
Yes.
everyone and this younger generation.
I echo at that strongly because someone yesterday expressed that no child should touch a phone below the age of 6, and I see the importance of that when I hear you expressing. Anyone who wants also to jump on this, because I feel like it's very heavy. I don't want to just close off, and I see you, Aziza, nodding to it. Perhaps you have something to say. Please say it.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the things too that is important to uplift and remember, when we're looking at the next generation and if we are leaving them better prepared when it comes to technology, is the state of youth mental health. So prioritizing youth mental health because and their well-being. Because when we're looking at the young people, they're dealing with a lot. They're dealing with a lot, and technology is helpful in certain instances, but if you are not aware and don't have enough media literacy, you don't have those skill sets that Lawrence was mentioning, the interpersonal skill sets that we as human beings have when we interact with one another. It can lead us down an unhealthy road when it comes to their mental health. And I think about the 1 in 5 young people in the U.S. who are dealing with mental health disorders, on a daily basis and minute by minute. So really stepping in, as the older generation, to be in that space to help guide young people using technology regarding literacy, media literacy, regarding helping them understand how to fact check and double check, sources, because we have deep fakes, we have, all these different things that are being thrown at them. So being
Yes.
that additional source of support, I think, is very important. And then as the older generation, continuing to advance our knowledge and understanding of technology so that we can, be that barrier of support and foundation for the young people, I think is something to uplift and amplify.
Yes. Very thought-provoking, something to take away with. Juliet, I'm coming to you. Actually, you unmuted. Before you just express, I'm also bringing this to you. What values must we embed into emerging technologies we develop today to serve future generations humanly? The mic is yours, Juliet.
I think digital privacy is very important. A lot of people take privacy for granted, and having worked in technology industry, federal government, I think like this generation is not taking privacy serious. So, for example, we see a generation that, like I think is Richard that shared, every child now has iPhone. And they are not even using this lower version of iPhone. I'm talking about iOS, the highest version of it, which means they could actually perform a lot of activities on this phone. So digital privacy is very, very important, whereby we understand human dignity. We understand how to respect people's data. And today, what is happening on social media, even in real life, is if you see somebody struggling, people rather take out their phone to video and post it without even permission, before even helping the person, before even performing simple CPR. That's the world we are now. So when you share this information, do you know how many data you have already linked that belongs to somebody else? So one of the things we have to really develop in today's generation, the youth, is digital privacy. Before you share it, think about it, because once you share, you no longer have access to that data. You can no longer control the data. So once it leaves your hand, the data lands to maybe thousands of people. You can no longer control what you share. So before you let it out of your phone, your hand, before you share that information, think about digital privacy. How are you protecting humanity? How are you respecting people's privacy? How are you respecting people without, leaking their confidential information online?
Yes, I totally agree with that. Think critically, but I just have a follow-up to that, and just be brief on it. There is a generation that just wants to get popular, and sometimes the way to get popular is sharing the latest news, and that latest news involves people, and it's either something tragic, and they don't want to help, they want to rush into popularity. How do we control this urge for popularity, likes, and followers? And anyone can chime in on that, but Juliet, I want to hear from you, and Lawrence as well. Yeah, Juliet.
Thank you, Lynn. I think this generation literally, and this goes to everybody, literally have to go back to the mentorship kind of life. Before, when I remember when I was in school and I was doing my undergrad, like I was so happy. I want to get a mentor, somebody that I look up to, somebody that will influence me positively. But what are we seeing today? People rather have people as popularity more than value. So quantity over quality. That's what we're saying. So I'm really encouraging the youth of today to cleave to mentorship. Look up to somebody who is modeling a life that you want their lookout to have, maybe. And this has nothing to do with um financial literacy, because I know like so many people are now, into that as well, which is
Yes.
amazing. But I'm thinking about moral. So
Mhm.
mentorship have to be embedded in the youth today.
Yes.
And I want the youth listening to us today, look out to somebody in the community. And also social technology, innovation has made things very easier. If you
Yeah.
are in school, reach out to somebody to mentor you, and somebody that will hold you accountable, because I see that lack of accountability is really, really in the youth today. So we have to.
Juliet, I'm coming to that accountability. I'm gonna fire that on you, but hold that thought for now. Let me listen to Lawrence, but I'm coming to you. Lawrence, what do you have to say on this generation that likes popularity over bodies?
Yeah,
Briefly.
I would have to say that, especially in the people I've spoken to and helped, is that the desire for popularity and the number of likes and followers, it can get very unhealthy very fast, because the fastest way to get a lot of likes is to do something terrible. It's very backwards, but people have a negativity bias. If you were to hear that someone gave $1 million to a homeless person, you'd be like, oh, that's pretty darn cool. Good job to them. But if somebody said, hey, look at this video of someone getting hit by a bus, you'll jump to the phone. And because of that, we realized that if I want to be popular, I have to do something outrageous. I have to do something very big. And that leads people down to doing immoral things. It
That's right.
leads to them like giving up their morals and principles in the name of, I have 50,000 followers. But at
Yes.
the end of the day, they don't have themselves. So one of the best ways we can combat this
Yeah.
is both, like Juliet said, through the mentorship aspect of having someone steer you on the right path,
Yes.
but also reminding them that what's the long-term implication of what you're about to do. Because in this moment, yes,
Yes.
you'll get a lot of likes and followers. But down the line, if you keep harming people and you keep talking down on others,
Yes.
we can look throughout the news, throughout history, and we can see instances of young people who ultimately end up losing their life
That's
because
right.
they were showing a ton of money on social media, and now you just put a target on your back.
That's right.
Or we can look at
That's
people
right.
who make music about harming others, and
Yeah.
even though in the song they're lying about this, there's people who think you're serious.
That's right.
So you put another target on your back, and you're at school, and
Yeah.
I saw you posted $10,000 on your Instagram. So now you just got robbed at school because you
Yeah.
put a target on your back. So it
That's right,
really comes
Lawrence.
down to this
We can go a
mentorship.
distance with that.
Yeah.
We can go. There's so many examples I can mention on that, and I'm just so worried. There's so many people who have lost their lives, and this is young people who have lost their lives because of such examples that you've given. And this doesn't only happen in one continent. I think it's global. I can give a ton of examples, but we don't have that much time. And I'm coming to you, Paula. This is a very strong discussion, and I'm bringing you on this. What social, environmental, or technological debts are we leaving to the younger generation, and how can we address them today? And Brian, I also want to hear your thoughts on this. But as for now, Paula, the mic is yours. Please unmute. Can unmute.
Yeah, there we go. It leads into what we're talking about in the last question on the social side. A lot of the social media content creators have passed away because they don't understand how to handle success. And
Yeah.
is that a failure, or whose fault is that in terms of, is it on the technology side, or is it related to their families, or is it related to our society in terms of we're rewarding them with doing crazy things with money? So how do we balance that and let them know that it's great to use the technology, it's great to create, but also understand the human side of the aspect. So we're not in that aspect, we're leaving behind, or we're not helping the newer generation in terms of dealing with the social side of it. When you talk about the climate, the environment side is about the climate, in terms of what's going on in our world today, and how in certain areas climate is a bigger issue versus it's not. Where is the world going to be in the next 5 to 10, 20 years, and how are they going to address that? When you're talking about decarbonization, when you're talking about the going to the space, if we're going to be here on Earth or we're going to be in space, where that's going to be. So we're leaving a lot, where we're creating a lot, but we're also leaving a lot on the table for the next generation to handle. But I think part of that is understanding the human sided aspect of the technology. Technology is wonderful. We always need human beings for technology, but we don't teach the kids today that technology is used to help productivity, to help with easier life, but balance it out with understanding the feelings, your soft skill sets, and understanding how to apply that.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Brian, do you want to add something to that?
Oh, yes. So I think in regards to the debt, we are getting to a point where we are actually being used by technology, not the other way, where we should be the ones making use of technology. When I think about the generation nowadays, they wake up every day, they are indoors, they are on a phone, on a laptop, they are playing games. The only things they are using are basically the fingers, the feet. It's only walk to the kitchen or walk to the bathroom. So already it's a big crisis that physically they're not doing anything. They're not gathering in groups. They're not using their intellectual minds, creativity, critical thinking. Like someone said that we don't actually remember our numbers like we used to. You could memorize so many things, but now we so reliant on technology, of which there's nothing wrong with it, but we actually need to be able to use our own creativity now. Instead of us actually using our minds to create something beautiful, wonderful, we just put it on ChatGPT. Please do this, do this for me. But we are taking away the power that we have and giving it to technology and losing ourselves in the process. So for the younger generation, it's not just on a social platform, losing ourselves, where we are very connected but disconnected, where even when you talk of environment, we're cutting down the trees, we need more computers, phones, we're destroying, and therefore leading to climate change as well. In regards to the physical aspect of a human being. A human being was created to be physically, mentally, intellectually, socially, spiritual, all these different aspects. But because of technology, maybe we're only focusing on one aspect of it, of which it has negative impact in the future.
Brian, you said something very thought-provoking, and I want to engage our audience who are watching all over the world. Is technology using us, or are we using it? So that is food for thought. You let me know on the chat box. But I want to come to you, Aziza. What ways can mentorship adapt to better serve the needs of a generation that prioritizes digital interaction? And I also want to hear from you, Richard, as well. But Aziza, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Lynn. I wanted to touch really quickly on the previous question regarding the debts. Just really quickly, I think we might be remiss if we didn't touch on the technological debt when it comes to the digital divide, and some youth having access to technology and some youth not having access to technology, and what that could do and what that could be doing regarding their promise, regarding opportunity, because we know that they are brilliant. Youth are brilliant all over the world, but if they do not have, inclusivity when it comes to digital accessibility, then we might be stifling, the future, disruptors in a good way, So it's really important that we bring that up, as well as the inequities that young people are facing. So when we look at the social debt, the inequities that young people are facing that come from historically marginalized and minoritized communities is something that we must continue to amplify and provide spaces for those voices to be seen and heard and understood. So I just wanted to mention that on the previous question, but in regards to the question regarding in what ways can mentorship adapt to better serve the needs of a generation that prioritizes digital interactions. I think
Yes.
it's important that we meet young people where they are, because
Mm,
once you start to speak with them, you start to realize like young people understand the issues. They are in tune with what's happening in their communities, but they don't always have the resources, to amplify or to push for positive change in the ways that they feel, is the
yes.
best solution. So what we can do, as the previous generation, I'm from the millennial bunch, but what we can do, and what I found is using my experiences in
Mm-hmm.
communications, journalism, excuse me, and production, and modifying those and meeting youth where they are by digitizing that. So when I
Yes.
teach young people how to tell their own stories, we look at ways to do that digitally. How can you do that through podcasting? How can you do that through creating your own
Mm-hmm.
documentary film piece? How can
Mm-hmm.
you do that
Mm-hmm.
through the written word? Because writing is still
Mm-hmm.
important. That is something that I also, teach young people, even though we're in a digital age. There's something about just putting a pen or pencil to paper that
Yes.
also activates the brain in a way that technology cannot, do so. So I think that we
I
can,
agree. I
yes,
agree.
I think that we
And
can
yeah, what
do
I'm
that.
getting from you
Mhm.
is, yes, what I'm getting from you, Aziza, is the forms of even getting to where they are. We just do it
Mm.
digitally. And
Absolutely.
Christopher, when Christopher was starting this, or yesterday, he was saying, let's meet the youth at where they are. And you just added a layer to that when you said we meet them digitally, because that is where they are. That is a powerful strategy. And Richard, tell us your thoughts. What do you think on this?
Oh, okay. So, 2 days ago, I was speaking to my niece. I've been teaching my niece about AI. She's just like 9. I have a background in artificial intelligence. So, and
Wow.
one of the things I really emphasized on is data sharing. You don't just share everything online. I'm in the Gen Z generation here, and one thing I've really noticed about this young generation is they love to share everything online. And all this ChatGPT and Gemini and all these AI assistants that we have there, they just train on random data online. It is bad for ChatGPT to already have your address because you mistakenly shared your house address online. Yeah, I was still saying it yesterday that for those people who impute young people now, yes, we need to meet them where they are. A lot of
Yes.
them use AI to apply for jobs now. And I was saying, why would you want to apply for a job with your CV and you still have your full house address and your contacts there? Like that is oversharing to the internet. So mentoring involves helping them to understand that there are boundaries to this thing. You can use it in ways that is going to protect you. We need to protect ourselves first. We need to also
Yes.
protect these guys first. Have you guys ever wondered why people like Mark Zuckerberg always blur
Um,
their children's face? Like it's something to think about. Why would Mark Zuckerberg is the founder of Facebook?
yeah.
Every of his child's picture, I noticed he blurs them because he
Mm,
understands something that we
yeah.
don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because he's trying to build a good future for that child, whereby the
Yeah.
child will be able to control his or her own privacy. And this is
Yes.
the same thing we need to encourage these people to know about as well. Like everything
Mm-hmm.
has limits, like there are boundaries to everything. And
Yes. The
understanding
boundaries.
this, yeah,
Yes.
understanding this is really what makes us healthy. A lot of
Yes.
young people are committing suicide just because of social media pressure online. They see people living fake life on TikTok, a 9 years
Mm-hmm.
old buying Rolls Royce, or
Yes.
probably,
I
things that
totally
are not true,
agree with that.
and they just
Richard,
get depressed. Yeah.
Richard, that's right. We can go a distance with that as well. We have so much to
Mm,
cover. I believe this is one of the most interesting roundtables to talk with. I think we should have a part two on that. I'm talking to Christopher.
mm,
Think of
mm,
a part two of this. But because of time, I just want to also throw this to you, Juliet, briefly,
Mm.
because our time is running as quick as it gets. What mistakes have previous generations made that youth must actively unlearn? And I also want to hear from you, Brian, on this. What are those mistakes that they need to unlearn?
I think one of them is they have to unlearn ignoring their mental health. Mental health is so important, and today's youth feels that they are robot, and I totally understand the energy that the youth have, and we have, and everything. But you have to understand that everything you do, there is something that communicate with the brain that transform this energy. So unlearn just being going and take a minute and pause and look into your mental health. Don't let it get to the point whereby you now have to be admitted to the hospital before you understand that you have to turn off the phone, you have to turn off the laptop, you have to, password. And this also, I throw this to parent. You have to know what your children are doing online. Don't ever trust them that they are matured enough to handle
Yes.
everything. They are not.
Powerful. Powerful. That's right.
Regardless of how old they are, know what they are doing. If you are not technically there, there are several apps you can download to track their digital footprint.
Mm-hmm.
Download this app, see what they do, and
Yes.
know the history, the browsing
Yes.
history, where they go to, delete them, block them, and wipe them off.
That's
Protect
right.
the youth, protect the children, teach
Mm-hmm.
them the power of collaboration. And this thing start in the family. If you have two children, teach them
Yeah.
how to teach the older one how to collaborate with the younger one. Teach the
Yeah.
children collaboration, the power of collaboration. And most importantly, know what your child is doing online. You have the power to stop them. You have the power to instruct them. You have the power to guide them. Don't let the word, don't let AI teach them
Yes.
what they should not be learned. So
Mm-hmm.
teach them and track what they are doing. And there are
Yeah.
several, like I said, several out there to
Yeah.
help you, and block what needs to be blocked and encourage what needs to be encouraged.
Definitely powerful, Juliet. Sorry, yeah, Juliet. But when I think about the power of responsibility, the parents, I think I bring more responsibility to the parents because these are kids. They don't know what they're doing. Bring accountability to them, protect them. It's not the role of any government or anyone outside your house. It starts with the family. Brian, do you want to add something to that briefly?
Oh, yes. I like that you use the words responsibility and accountability. I always, when we speak about response, how you respond to things that are thrown to you online, and your ability to choose either going this direction or going a different direction, and account, being able to take a look and say, okay, who am I following? Where are they coming from? What's the intention behind all that they share and post? So some of the mistakes that we learned this generation that we need to teach the other ones is not everyone who's in authority is an authority, and in your life you need to be able
Yes.
to say, what are they teaching me? What's the
Mm-hmm.
intention? Why should I follow them? What am I learning from them? And then the other thing is that busyness does not equate that you have done anything productive. You can
That's right.
spend the whole day online and have done nothing at all, but feel like you did so many things. And
Mm-hmm.
also that one of the things online is, online there's no real connection because there's less of being vulnerable or opening up, of which real connection and real healing comes
Yes.
when people open up and are vulnerable. So those are some of the things that we can actually do better to help this next generation, that it's okay to be vulnerable, to show
Mm-hmm.
your mistakes, your failures, and to
Yeah.
ask for help when you need it, than to pretend everything's beautiful and
Yeah.
perfect when it really is not. Yeah.
Yeah, vulnerability is strength. I totally agree with that. Paula, I want to bring this to you with this little time that we have left. What blind spots do we have today that could become tomorrow's biggest ethical crisis? And Lawrence, I also want to hear your thoughts on this.
I think we kind of went over it a little bit. Some of the I can't even talk. The blind spots is the data privacy. Is that our kids are just they go out and they just give our information, sign up for different apps, and just put their information out there. And one of the I was reading one of the examples is we have an app now for women to monitor our menstrual cycles, and that data should be private to us, but we put it out there, and everybody in the world can get it and see it. So we really need to explain to the youth that not everything needs to go, as we talked about before, go online. And so it comes down to giving the youth the common sense. They know the technology, but we really need to embed them with the common sense or the soft skills, because that's what's lacking right now in today's world as we move forward. So we really need to, if we don't teach them this, then it's really going to be a problem in the future where data is just going to be out there and they're just giving everything away to where everybody knows what's going on with them. And that some things need to be stayed private.
Yes, absolutely. Lawrence, add a layer to this.
Yeah, I would say that one of the biggest blind spots we have is that we often aren't reminding young people enough about the importance of self-love, because you can go online and, like Richard mentioned, you can see the 9-year-old with the Rolls Royce, you can see the 21-year-old multi-millionaire, and you start subconsciously comparing yourself to them and thinking, man, I don't have nothing going on like that. And you start to downplay yourself, but it leads you to forgetting the value of who you are as a person is deeper than what you have in your wallet. And on the note of comparing yourself monetary wise, in order to be in the top 10% of earners worldwide, so comparing every single person worldwide, top 10% is 30,000 a year. That puts you in the top 10% worldwide. 50,000 puts you in the top 1% worldwide. But we keep ourselves in these little echo chambers and start thinking we compare ourselves way too highly and forget that we matter too. And then with things such as AI, we start to compare ourselves and think, this is so much smarter than me. I can never be that smart. I can never make a like that.
That's right.
We over rely on the technology rather than realizing that we're the ones who built it. So we know how to improve ourselves, but we just forget about taking care of ourselves.
Definitely. Lawrence, I just want to add a layer to that when it comes to comparison. I read somewhere comparison is the killer of progress, if I can rephrase it on my way. And
Yes.
Aziz, we just have 1 minute left, and I just want you to conclude with this. How can today's youth balance risk taking, responsibility in creating their future? Briefly, tell us what you think.
Yes, I'll try to do it briefly. One thing that I tell young people all the time is to take bold risks, but make them informed and intentional. So do the research, build in their communities, and then take the jump. Don't just jump with your eyes covered. You can still disrupt, but there's still a disciplinary, kind of mindset to take when it comes to that. And when you're taking risks, the truth is you do that, by speaking truth to power, by living in, your truth, and also understanding that what is my why? What is my purpose in doing this? And, that's very important to ground young people, because the other part of that too, you don't want to take a risk that's rooted in pressure, but you want to take one that's rooted, in boldness and kind of being able to think through things and going back to centering your why. So youth, they really are preparing, to inherit this world. And so they never need to feel stifled and never need to feel afraid and never need to feel that what they have within them is of no value right now. it's
I agree.
valuable right now. So take the risk, but do so with intention and a centering around what your why is and what the
Mhm.
outcome that you hope and you seek from this.
Yes, that is a very powerful summary, Aziza. When it comes to purpose, intention, I couldn't agree more. And that's the best way to summarize. I know we had a lot to express, and this is my request for you, Christopher. Consider round two. And when we get another one like this, we're looking forward to have you back, our dear panelists. We love your expression and we value you. Thank you so much. This was a great time spending time with you. And our Gather was well. Over to you, GatherVerse team. Thank you so much. Bye.